The story of the 1971 Roosevelt dime begins long before the coin itself was minted, because to understand the significance of the 1971 issue, we must go back to the origins of the Roosevelt dime in 1946, when the United States chose to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had led the nation through both the Great Depression and World War II, and who had become a symbol of strength, perseverance, and leadership for the American people. The dime was selected for this tribute because of Roosevelt's close association with the fight against polio and the March of Dimes, a national effort that raised money for research, treatment, and support for millions of affected children. As the years passed, the Roosevelt dime became one of the most stable and unchanged coins in American circulation, retaining its familiar portrait of Roosevelt, designed by John R. Sinnock, and its simple reverse, featuring a torch symbolizing liberty flanked by olive and oak branches, representing peace and strength. By the time the year 1971 arrived, the United States Mint had already undergone major changes in coinage composition, due to rising silver prices in the early 1960s. The Coinage Act of 1965 had eliminated silver from the dime and quarter and reduced it drastically in the half-dollar, marking the beginning of a new era of clad coinage. The 1971 Roosevelt dime continued this composition, using a copper core bonded between outer layers of cupronickel, giving it durability and resistance to wear, which was essential for heavy circulation in a rapidly growing economy. The early 1970s were a period of social transition, economic challenges, and ongoing political tensions in the United States, and yet coinage remained a silent witness to everyday life, reflecting the nation's ability to adapt to changing times. When analyzing the year 1971 specifically, it holds a quiet but important place in dime history because it was part of a decade where changes in minting technology, quality control, and production volumes shaped the coins Americans used daily. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced the 1971 dime, did so without a mint mark, as was tradition before the revival of the P mint mark. Decades later, millions of these coins entered circulation as part of the country's everyday financial system, but despite their common appearance, collectors have grown increasingly interested in subtle varieties, minting errors, and condition-based rarities that give the 1971 dime more character than its simple design suggests. During this period, the mint was focused on improving the efficiency of coin production due to an increasing demand for circulating coinage, driven by population growth, business expansion, and economic activity. The machinery used at the time produced strong, consistent strikes, but variations still occurred, leading to a range of minor yet intriguing collectible differences, such as off-center strikes, die cracks, weak strikes, and occasional planchet errors. Every one of these pieces tells a story about the physical process of creating currency, where thousands of tons of pressure produced tiny discs of metal that would travel through hands' pockets, registers, banks, and businesses all across America. In 1971, the dime served as more than just a 10-cent piece. It represented the stability of the American monetary system at a time when the country was about to face major economic shifts, including stagflation, rising inflation rates, and the eventual end of the Bretton Woods system. President Richard Nixon would soon announce policies that dramatically shifted the country's economic direction, and while these large political and financial decisions were unfolding, the humble dime continued its daily work unnoticed by most but essential for commerce, from buying newspapers and candy to paying transit fares or contributing to vending machines. The coin was a small but constant presence in American life. As collectors look back at the 1971 Roosevelt dime, they also consider the broader role of the series in U.S. coinage history. The Roosevelt dime had now been in circulation for 25 years and had become one of the most familiar coins to Americans. Its design had remained unchanged, a testament to its acceptance and functionality. The 1971 issue served as a mid-era example of how the series transitioned from silver to clad and how modern minting shaped the coins of the late 20th century. Although not rare in General circulation high-grade examples are prized by collectors because copper-nickel-clad coins from this era often show heavy wear and lack the sharp details found in coins that were preserved early. Furthermore, the 1971 dime helps illustrate how the mint balanced tradition with modernization. The iconic portrait of Roosevelt continued to honor a beloved leader, while the updated metal composition reflected the economic realities of a post-silver currency world. Collectors studying the coin recognize that while it may not carry the mystique of key dates or rare varieties, it is a necessary chapter in the long-running narrative of American dimes, a coin that quietly documented the nation's evolving financial landscape. As the historical story expands deeper into the context surrounding the coin, we can reflect on the mint's internal developments during this era. The early 1970s saw improved die-making techniques better, steel alloys for striking tools, and enhanced quality checks. Although perfect consistency was still impossible. These technological shifts made the 1971 Roosevelt dime part of a larger evolution in American numismatics. The coin also represents a time before major design changes swept through U.S. coinage in later decades, making it a snapshot of mid-century style and stability. In the final reflection, the 1971 Roosevelt dime stands as a reminder of how everyday objects can carry long histories and deep national meaning. A simple coin passed from person to person carries with it the legacy of a president, the transformation of U.S. currency, the economic pressures of a shifting era, and the craftsmanship of the mint that produced it. Collectors and historians continue to examine these coins, not because they are rare, but because they are rich in context, offering insight into the nation's past and into the continuous story of American money, from silver to clad, from wartime leadership to modern economic realities, and from humble circulation pieces to objects of historical appreciation. As we explore further into the historical landscape surrounding the 1971 Roosevelt dime, it becomes clear that this small piece of currency was shaped not only by the mint that produced it, but also by the economic and cultural environment of early 1970s America. The United States was experiencing major shifts influenced by political decisions, global events, and technological advancements, and every coin minted during this time indirectly reflects those conditions. The year 1971 was especially significant because it marked the moment when the United States moved further away from the gold standard, culminating in President Richard Nixon's decision to suspend the direct convertibility of the dollar into gold. This event, known as the Nixon shock, deeply affected the international monetary system as the value of the dollar shifted to a more flexible system determined by global markets. Although the dime itself was no longer tied to precious metal, its production and usage were still affected by broader changes in the financial world. Coins like the 1971 Roosevelt dime symbolized the transition from a metal-backed currency era into a modern fiat currency system. At the same time, the mint was focused on producing enough coinage to keep up with national demand, as the American economy relied heavily on physical cash for daily transactions. Credit cards were still in their early stages, and electronic payments were decades away, which meant that coins like the dime played an important role in nearly every financial interaction. Whether people were buying postage, paying telephone booth charges, or using vending machines, the dime was essential and its reliability mattered. With millions of transactions occurring every day, the mint needed to ensure that production was efficient, consistent, and capable of supporting a nation growing in both population and consumer activity. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced the 1971 Roosevelt dime, faced the challenge of maintaining high volumes and strong quality control while adapting to new machinery and refining production processes. The technology used during this period was becoming more advanced than the equipment of the 1950s and early 1960s, but it still required expert operators, careful oversight, and constant adjustment. Many of the errors that collectors search for today, such as off-center strikes, die breaks, clipped planchets, and Weak strikes were the natural byproducts of this type of mass production. Each error, though unintentional, represents a unique moment in the minting process and adds a layer of character to the 1971 dime, making it more than just a common circulation coin.